Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
Narayana Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Jeva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraya
Diraye
Nassa Prashva Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayva Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktirva Vinayasike.
Bhakti Naistiki.
We're continuing the 7th chapter. We left off at verse 24. Now we're seeing Vidura asking more questions from Maitreya Rishi, Maitreya Muni. Text 25. Okay. Prajapatinam sapatis
Prajapatinam sapatis
Chaklipekam Prajapatim
Chakulpekam Prajapatim
Sargams Chaivanu Sargamscha
Sargam Chaivam Sargamscha
Manum Manvantaradipan.
Manumantaradipan.
Olana Brahmana, please describe how the leader of all the demigods, namely Prajapati, Brahma, decided to establish the various Manus, the heads of the ages. Please describe the Manus also, and please describe the descendants of those Manus. He's asking a lot of details. A lot of details. So remember, he's asking about 40 questions in this chapter.
He is answered in 4th canto.
The whole third canto, more or less, most of the questions are answered.
But not 4th.
I don't think so. I mean, from what I found out, it's the whole third canto is answering his questions. Text 26. Pariyadascha ye loka
Pariyadascha ye loka
Bhumirmitradmajasate
Bhumirmitradmajasate
Tesham samstam pramanam cha
Tesham samstam pramanam cha
Urlokascha varnaya.
Urlokasya cha varnaya.
O son of Mitra, kindly describe how the planets are situated above the earth as well as underneath it, and also please mention their measurement as well as that of the earthly planets. He's asking a lot of details. Now Maitreya Rishi also studied under Parasara Muni, so he's very learned. Okay? So it's not like he doesn't know many things. And he also heard from Krishna also. Very qualified.
Best.
Very exactly. Yes, in the Prabhupada writes, Yasmin Vijnati Sarvam Evam Vijnatam Bhavati. This Vedic hymn declares emphatically that the devotee of the Lord knows everything material and spiritual in relationship with the Lord. Devotees are not simply emotional, as is ill-conceived by certain less intelligent men. Their direction is practical. They know everything there is and all the details of the Lord's domination over the different creations. So that means we also should know as much as possible the information in the Bhagavatam also. I mean, I don't expect all of us to know completely, but at least we should know certain things in detail. Right? And,
This Prabhuji was saying, this is a map.
yeah.
And if you don't have a map, how will you go there?
Yeah.
So you need to know the map.
Yeah,
This is a map, right? Actually, it's a map.
it's true.
Once you understand the map, how you to go. Otherwise, you're stuck somewhere else. Instead of going to the top, you get stuck in the
It
middle.
was very helpful. Concrete understanding.
You're fortunate. For us many years ago, we just didn't have all this math. We just figure out ourselves. Yeah. Text 27. Tiyan manusa devanam
Manusa devanam
sarishritva patatrinam Vadana Sarga Samyuham Garbhaseda Vijodivam Vijodvidam. Also, please describe the living beings under different classifications: subhumans, humans, those born of the embryo, those born of perspiration, those who are twice born, birds, and the plants and vegetables. Kindly describe their generations and subdivisions also. So birds are called twice born because first is eggs, then they born from the egg. So that twice born. Not like Brahmana. Text 28. Gunavatare Vishvasya
Gunavatare Vishwasya
Sargasthiti Apyayashrayam
Sargasthiti Ashrayashrayam
Srijata Srinivasasya
Srijata Srinivasasya
Vyachakshvodara Vikramam.
Vikramam.
Please also describe the incarnations of the material modes of nature, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. And please describe the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his magnanimous activities.
For the first time, Krishna is described as Srinivasa. Srinivasa Govinda.
So it's very
It's not first time.
5,000 years ago, he's called Srinivasa.
No, his name is Srinivas even in the Vedas.
Srinivasa means where
Lakshmi Devi resides.
Yeah.
No, but I did not see elsewhere, right? In Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah,
nowhere it is
first time I
mentioned.
think we have
Srinivasasya.
Then we have to throw a party.
Yes. Yeah, I'll cook. When do you want?
Now that the name is revealed, you all can be happy now. Basically,
I will cook.
Srinivasa, like you said, right? Where Sri
Nivasa.
takes shelter. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so he is actually Ashraya for every living entity. Yeah. Yeah. Which Prabhupada mentions also in the purport. Text 29. Varnashrama vigagamscha Rupa Shila Swabhavataha Vishinam Janma Karmani Vedasya Cha Vikarshanam. A great sage kindly described the divisions and orders of human society in terms of symptoms, behavior, and the characteristics of mental equilibrium and sense control. Also, please describe the births of the great sages and the categorical divisions of the Vedas. So he wants to know about Varnashram system, qualities within the Varnashram system, how they are behaving and so on. And he also wants to know about the different sage lineage of different great sages like that. Lot of questions. So basically, Varnashram is based on guna and karma, not janma karma. Okay.
So Maitreya Muni is actually giving Discover Yourself class right now.
Yeah, because you take a look at Vidura. Who is he? He is it's not Sudra, but he was born from a Sudra mother, but his father is a Brahmana.
Pratiloma.
Yeah. He's actually a Mahajan. So, but he's more than a Brahmana. He's a Vaishnava, actually. So, but he wants to know how one categorizes and so on, just to understand everything from Maitreya Rishi, because Maitreya Rishi is very well learned. So he wants to get it nicely from him. Text 30. Yagnasya cha vitanani yogascha bata prabhu naiskarmyasya cha sankyasya tantram va bhagavatsmitam. Please also describe the expansions of different sacrifices and the paths of mystic powers, analytical study of knowledge, and devotional service, all with their respective regulations. So, Prabhupada mentions the word tantram is used here. So he says Tantram is misunderstood to be black spiritual science of materialistic persons engaged in sense gratification. But here it means devotional service. Okay. And then later on, Prabhupada says, Sankhya philosophy is the basic principle of acquiring knowledge, as will be explained by the sage Maitreya. The Sankhya philosophy, enunciated by Kapila Deva, the son of Devahiti, is the real source of knowledge about the Supreme Truth. Knowledge not based on the Sankhya philosophy is mental speculation and can yield no tangible profit. So that's a system, how to apply these philosophies properly. Otherwise, it is just one speculation. And later on in Kali Yuga, this Kapila, also there's another Kapila. But he is
The fake.
atheist. So he twists and turns all the understanding. Okay.
So Prabhu, the word Naiskarmya in the verse in the previous page.
Yeah.
Naiskarmya, normally we say jnana, right? Naiskarmya is also jnana.
It depends on the usage. So here it means of knowledge. So you can say it's jnana also.
But the word karma is there etymologically. The karmasya.
That you have to ask a Sanskriti scholar why it's there. Like you're asking for etymological reason. I can't give you that. Yeah. There may be something to do with it. I can't speculate on it because I don't even know this Sanskrit grammar and all. Yeah. But you can always ask some Sanskrit devotees, or even non-devotees, how they come to the understanding of what it is. Yeah. Text 31. Asanda pata vaisamyam pratiloma niveshanam jivasya gatayo yascha yavati gunakarmaja. Please also describe the imperfections and contradictions of the faithless atheists, the situation of crossbreeding, and the movements of the living entities in various species of life according to their particular modes of nature and work. Prabhupada says combination of living entities in different modes of material nature is called cross-breeding. The faithless atheists do not believe in the existence of God, and thus their paths of philosophy are contradictory. Atheistic philosophies never agree with one another. Different species of life are evidence of varieties of mixtures of modes of material nature. Prabhupada just wants to explain to us, there is different categories of mixing where it creates different living entities based on these different modes. Text 32. Dharmartha kama mokshanam nimittani avirodhataha vataya danda nitischa srutasya cha vidim pritak. Danda means stick, na? Punishment. Yeah.
Danda means
That's done now.
That's danda.
Sama Beda Danda, right? Dandopana.
That is done.
Danda. That is different.
punishment.
So this
It's
punishment.
the same thing. That
Yeah.
and this danda is same.
This is
Not
different
danda.
from done.
Yeah, different. Danda is different.
So niti means
Law.
Yeah.
law. So that means the punishment based on
No.
laws. So that's what it is. Danda niti. You may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, and also the different means of livelihood and different processes of law and order, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. And he wants to know many details and different angles he's looking at. Text 33. Shraddhasya cha vidim brahman pitrinam sargameva cha graha nakshatra taranam kalavayava samstitim. Please also explain the regulations for offering respects to forefathers, the creation of the Pitri-loka, the time schedule in the planets, stars and luminaries and their respective situations.
So Vidura is already learned in the Vedas, and Vedas talk about all these things. Rigan, Sama basically give all these details. So is it for the general population is asking? Or?
Well, you can look at it both ways. One, he may be asking for our benefit. The other could be because he wants to hear from a pure devotee. Someone who is more Jnani will give an emphasis on a certain aspect. Someone who's a devotee will give it as it is, as Krishna will want you to understand. So he wants to understand how Krishna wants him to understand. Remember when Krishna talked about Vidura before he left his body also. So the Lord inquired about him. So because the Lord knows he will be looking for him also. So then Maitreya was there, and Uddhava told him, the Lord actually asked about you, so but go and talk to Maitreya Rishi. And so therefore Vidura wants to hear everything from, because he knows he heard it from Krishna, so he wants to hear everything also. Now, in our case, we may have said we have heard from someone, we don't want to go to that class because that Maharaj is nice. No, it's true, we act like that. But here Vidura is seeing as it's coming from someone who just heard from Krishna. He's more interested in the potency of and listening to and doing service to someone exalted. That's a difference in the way we see things sometimes, all of us. Right? We view things differently. I've already heard it, I know. But then by listening to someone, you also get their mercy. You will get their mercy. Mercy means their understanding you will get. And by the understanding, you will go back to God maybe faster. So that's why it's good to hear, go and listen and so on. So sometimes, the person may talk the same thing, but the association may be so wonderful just to be there. Right? So it's like that. So anyway, he wants to know all the different planets, how they're situated, time, all this, astronomy, astrology, Vedic cosmography, everything he wants to know. Right? It's true, right? It's like if you want to find out about certain thing, you'll ask different devotees, different things. So the same thing. But Maitreya is well learned, so therefore he knows all these things. Text 34.
You can understand if the other person speaks.
Huh?
You can understand if the other person speaks.
Yeah. But anyway, we know who is cheater and who is not cheater within our association. We know someone will stretch the truth a bit more for dramatic effect, and some people will be very factual. Like it's a fact. That's how people are. So you pick and choose, right? But in all cases, if it's coming through parampara, whether they stretch it or they give it in cuts, it's the same information. It is valuable. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
Kavya allows.
Huh?
Kavya allows the speaker or
Yes.
reciters to change.
Or
add.
use the remaining.
Yeah, erase the remaining.
It's called
Within the
privilege.
parameter.
In the
It's called privilege. The director's privilege, and the author's privilege, like that. So they can stretch it a little bit, but they won't go out of the purview of the rules, like that. Yeah. X34. Danasya tapaso vapi yachechesta purtayo palam pravasastasya yo dharmo yaschabumsa utapadi. Please also describe the fruitive results of charity and penance and of digging reservoirs of water. So even those days, please describe the situation of persons who are away from home and also the duty of a man in an awkward position. Very interesting.
This is a question in Canto 2. What this, how many things can be done? One of this was digging.
Digging there. Yeah, it's a big thing, like charitable things. Prabhupada writes there also.
Benefits so many generations.
Yeah, not only people, it also benefits living other living entities. So therefore, it's a big service. And like you were saying, it also benefits future generation. For thousands of years also, what you dig, big lake will be serving. So therefore, people like to do those things.
What does he mean by awkward positions?
Awkward position means what you are going to do, right? You don't know what to do.
Our situation.
Our situation.
Right? Like, sometimes after a certain age, you must, for example, Prabhupada says, after 50, one should give up. But if you don't know what to do, you will be in you retired, you have no job, you're sitting in home, you are in a awkward situation. Dhritarashtra was in a awkward situation. That's like that. Text 35. Yena va bhagavan stusye dharmayone janardana samprasidati va yesham etarakya yahi me nagar. O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion, and all those who are candidates for religious activities, kindly describe how he can be completely satisfied. So he wants to know also how people do all these small rituals and so on. How does it benefit the Lord? Because he's already situated in complete satisfaction. So he's wanting to find out. Isn't it? How is the Lord satisfied? Ask them. But that's the reason how the Lord is satisfied when we do certain things by rules and regulations. So he wants to find out. Basically, the Lord is the one who set up all the system. So when you follow his system, he is definitely happy because by doing that, you will overcome the modes of material nature and then understand him better. And then you'll take up devotional service. So that is the thing here. Yeah. But most of the time, nowadays people don't think about this. They're only pursuing how to satisfy one's senses. So therefore, you can see the education system now is all screwed up. It teaches you how to satisfy your senses, but not to inquire about who you are.
40 years ago in America, there was a hippie movement where people were trying to find an identity. Now they have given up.
Yeah. Now because the identity is now virtual. It's true.
Facebook,
it's all virtual. You can see this is all based on impersonalism. You can be very amazing when you are behind some house in a room typing away nonsense, but face to face you cannot.
You can stop somebody.
Yeah.
So delete somebody, create somebody.
So it's a virtual situation now. 40 years ago, people were looking for identity. Nowadays, people don't want identity.
Yeah, they want to hide away.
Yeah,
so
therefore you see NSA and all trying to identify all these unidentifiable things.
They're hacking into Google servers.
They're hacking into everybody. So you can see nobody has any privacy anymore. Everything is one.
Yeah, with everything in internet, whether you save on computer or you save in home or even in the bank, everything is.
Yeah, you're doing
virtual Mayavadi. Virtual Mayavadi.
Well, you are Mayavadi, just extending into
Because as you said, we are Mayavadis, everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's how we perceive the world and how we are interacting with the world. We become impersonal like that. Right? You call even a pharmacy to talk to a pharmacist, you have to go through a few voicemail, and then you say, if you need to talk, then press a number. You waste 10 minutes. Because if he's dying, he has 30 seconds, he's dead, no? You cannot even call for help, so to speak. Anyways, that's how the world is. Text 36. Anuvratanam sisyanam Putranam cha dvijyotamam Anapishtam abhibruyu Guravo dina vatsalaha. O best among the Brahmanas, those who are spiritual masters are very kind to the needy. They are always kind to their followers, disciples and sons. And without being asked by them, the spiritual master describes all that is knowledge. That is the mercy of the spiritual master. So basically, Vidura is saying, I'm your disciple. So even though if I don't ask the question, you please reveal it to me. Text 37. Basically, that's what a spiritual master, he will look at the disciple. If the disciple is full, he still has to help the disciple go back to God. So he'll give the knowledge by telling, why don't you go do this, go do that, and then they will learn through the experience. That's the kindness of the Guru. Adama Jana.
Morning.
Oh, yes. Yes, lowest. It helps the lowest. Text 37. Tatvanam bhagavam stesham
Tatvanam bhagavam stesham
katida pratishankrama
Vatidya Vatishankrama
trimanka upasiran
Tairama Upasiram
kausvir anuserate.
Kausir Anuserate.
Please describe how many disillusions there are for the elements of material nature, and who survives after the disillusions to serve the Lord while he is asleep. That means when there's many disillusions. We were looking the other day, there's 4 types. One happens at the end of the day of Brahma, and then one happens at the end of his life. One happens between the yugas sometimes, and one happens between the manus also, sometimes, not always.
So 4 Prabhu, one is Manus, one is Yugas, one is
Brahma, day of Brahma, end of his life.
end of whose life?
Brahma's life.
That's when everything goes back to Mahavishnu. Okay. You can look at Brahma Samhita, that's description of how everything comes from the Narayana and then goes back into Narayana or Mahavishnu.
But why destruction between Yugas and
There's sometimes a partial. Sometimes, sometimes the living entities between one yuga and another may be really bad, so, okay.
If too many
Wipe
people are
out and
bad.
redo. Sometimes you wipe out codes also, right? You don't like the code, you just delete the whole section. Right? So same way, the thing didn't work out, so those are not, they run out of their good karma, whatever, so they have to go. So that whole planetary system is rewritten, so to speak.
So Kalki does clean up.
Does full
To
clean
what level he does?
He does only in our planet for the end of Kali Yuga. Yeah. He does that. But he is an empowered personality. Shaktivesh. Text 38.
So, Prabhu, one question. So, during Mahavishnu's inhalation, all the planets that were earlier, which came out,
All the universe.
all the universes, sorry. So that means all the universes have the same time.
Yes. Yes. It's interesting, but yes. Yeah. But they have different time in each universe. Because some are big personalities, Brahma, huge Brahmas, 1,000,000-headed Brahma. Ours is 4-headed Brahma. So it's inconceivable. And their universe, to accommodate those living entities, is a bigger universe.
But they all came in the form of seeds.
Yeah, it
from the
doesn't
same
matter. But this how.
They
That's how.
expand. Yeah.
Each universe will expand accordingly to how.
accommodate complex living entities.
So even when the Lord goes in there, he will adjust his size according to that universe. Yeah, it is like that.
So the size of the Paramatma actually varies between universes.
Well, if you say this is 1 foot here, their 1 foot will, when you cross the body, may look big, but just like my hand is this big, right? In that they may have a bigger hand, but it's only relative, no?
It's one thumb.
Just relative.
Depending on the thumb size.
Thumb size. Thumb will
So
be
it's
definitely
their thumb size.
their thumb size.
Something like that.
So in one of the Sri Vaishnava books, they talk about the Milky Way as being celestial airplanes which are constantly in motion.
Milky Way is within the universe itself.
But they're still celestial.
Yeah, but it's within within this universe.
Hmm.
That's Milky Way. And Milky Way depends on what you read or not. So it's a way to go to different planetary system also.
It's a way.
Well, the sages, they meditate, they get all the siddhi, they can see how to go through. Generally, they go through the fire, Surya. It's in the 8th chapter, I believe, Bhagavad Gita. You'll see how.
They go through fire.
Yeah, they go through, and he will take them to the different locations.
Which means they obtain subtle bodies. Because in
Yes.
fire, we
Yes.
lose our bones.
Yes, yes.
The sun rays.
Yeah, basically fire and sun. Yes. Okay, let's go. Text 38. Purusasya cha samsthanam jnanam cha naigamam yatat.
Exchange for Swarupa.
Sorry, Purusasya cha samsthanam Swarupam va parasya cha Jnanam cha naigamam yattat Guru Sishya Prayojanam. What are the truths regarding the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What are their identities? What are the specific values in the knowledge in the Vedas? And what are the necessities for the spiritual master and his disciples?
Gradually is going up in that.
Yeah, he's going more and more detail about the living entity and the personality of God and how to achieve that transcendental knowledge and so on. Text 39. Nimittani cha tasyeha Bhaktani aragasurivi Svato jnanam kuta pumsam Bhaktir vairagyameva va. Spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? Prabhupada says there are many inexperienced persons who advocate self-realization without the help of a spiritual master. It's very common. So many people are advocating spiritual life, but they don't really understand many things. They decry the necessity of the spiritual master. Decry means they say you don't need spiritual master, and try themselves to take his place by propagating the theory that a spiritual master is not necessary. Meaning they say you don't need the spiritual master, but they themselves are acting like spiritual master, telling other people what to do. So that's foolishness. So Prabhupada says Srimad Bhagavatam, however, does not approve this viewpoint, right? What did Vyasadeva write in the very second verse? In the beginning of
Dharma Projita Kaita.
Projita Kaita. So all this kind of understanding is rejected. Then Prabhupada says even Vyasadeva needed a spiritual master. His spiritual master was Narada Muni. Even Krishna needed a spiritual master, Sandipani. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a spiritual master, Ishvara Guru. So even Arjuna took a spiritual master. So everybody was so qualified took spiritual master. So how can people who don't understand this say, oh, you don't need a guru? Actually, this is quite common also. Even among devotees or so-called devotees, they tell others, you don't need guru. It's okay. Just come and listen and you'll be okay. Don't take any initiation. There are many people like that. But it's not. You can see Prabhupada is explaining. And you can understand, even Vidura is asking, how, without the help, how can they become qualified? So we need the help. Right? If you are drowning in the ocean, how can you get out of that situation? You need someone to drag you out of the water. So therefore, you need the help of a spiritual master in the same way. So Prabhupada then in the second paragraph explains, Suris are great scholars. Sometimes some people have this last name Suri,
Yeah.
but they may not always be Anaga or spotless. The Anaga Suri is one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. those who are not pure devotees of the Lord or who want to be on an equal level with him are not anaga suri. So if someone is learned but he says he wants to be equal with the Lord, he is not actually suri also. He is also not anaga. Anasuri, right? Asuri. Anaga asuri. Spotlessly asuri.
In what way we should understand the statement here? When Lord Krishna accepted a spiritual master in order to be enlightened. How do you understand that?
I don't understand. What do you do? I already said about Lord Krishna, right?
Yeah, he said he accepted, that is understood, but in order to be enlightened, how do you understand that?
What do you think? Oh, if you had read the Krishna book, you know Krishna took, because these are part of the pastime. So easy to do. It's part of dharma, right? That he had to, at a certain age, take a guru, go to Gurukula, study under a guru. And he's showing by doing all that, one can become enlightened by following that. So therefore, Krishna is setting an example that when he studied, in 64 days, he learned 64 arts. And he knew everything completely. Who can do that? Only the God can do that. But it's just an example to show that we need gurus to become enlightened. Right? It's not that he got enlightened because of Sandipati. He's showing us, you do that and you will also get some good results, just like I did. That's all.
It's not that he already knows everything. I'm just going to go as if I don't know anything. He actually, because of Yoga Maya, gets covered.
That's a pastime.
He goes like as if he doesn't know. He learns from his teacher. I think that's what.
That's
Prabhupada also said, like when Krishna comes in this world, he sets the example how the people, common people should follow it.
That's what I was
So
saying.
yeah, that's here the same thing.
So just to set examples, he does that. Remember in 3rd chapter, he says, if I don't do, then everyone will follow my path.
Yet Achara is Shrestha.
Yeah, you think you all can code, but you all don't know what it means. Right? He has to set example. Otherwise, people will just say, oh, Krishna didn't go to Gurukul, why I have to go? Right? If Krishna just sat on his own at home and meditated and said, I realized, people will say, I also then will become Mayavadis.
There's a lot of now confusion between why division happened in our organization. Anything is not understanding properly principles.
Okay, let's continue. Text 40. Etan me prichata prashnan Hare karma vivitsaya Bruhi me nyasya mitratva Jaya nasta chakshusha. My dear sage, I have put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. It is interesting because he wants Maitreya Rishi to answer these questions at the same time.
The pastimes of Lord.
He wants to hear the pastimes. So in the pastimes, he wants those things answered.
He's trying to connect everything with.
Yes, okay. So Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha. He wants everything to be related to Krishna. So therefore his mind, as Prabhupada says, is always focused on not Bahushaka Anantasya. It's focus. Eke Kurunandana. One point. So that,
Also, he's asking for others. So kindly describe them
Oh.
for all those who have aspiration.
yeah, that is true. That's his kindness. Text 41. Sarve vedascha yagnascha
Sarve vedascha yagnascha
Bodhanani chanaga
Tapodhanani chanaga
Jivavaya pradhanasya
Jivavaya pradhanasya
Akurviran kalamapi
Nagurviram kalamapi.
O spotless one. What does anaga means? Sinless. That's for he's spotless. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. It's like a vaccination. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. So he's saying if your knowledge is like charity, the greatest charity for all humanity actually. Because Prabhupada says that the highest perfection of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. Means birth, death, old age. Free them from that. That's the highest charity. And it only can be achieved by devotional service. You can't do it any other way. Because otherwise you can read the Vedas, you can do some charity, some austerity and some sacrifice. But it's not going to make any benefit in the long run. Because all those things that you're getting benefits temporary, unless it is devotional service.
And demons also do those three things anyway.
Yeah, because they are also pious in that sense. Yeah. Like Hiranyakashipu was pious, but then after all his austerity, he became pious like anything. Became big nonsense. So, in the last sentence, Prabhupada says, the charity of Maitreya not only will help Vidura, but due to its universal nature, will deliver all others in all times. Thus, Maitreya is immortal. Pure devotee. Text 42. Sri Sukha Vacha Sayittam Aprishta Purana Kalpaha Guru Pradhanena Muni Pradhanaha Pravritta Harsho Bhagavad Katayam Sanchodhitastam Prahasanniva Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, thus the chief of the sages, who was always enthusiastic about describing topics regarding the personality of Godhead, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of the Puranas, being so infused by Vidura. He was very much enlightened by speaking of the transcendental activities of the Lord. Now it says, Sanjoditastam Prahasan. He was very happy also, he was smiling. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Maitreya Muni being thus invited by Vidura to speak appeared to be smiling because he actually felt transcendental bliss. That's why he was smiling. Thus ends the Bhakti and the purpose of the third canto, 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Further Inquiries of Vidura. Chapter 8. Manifestation of Brahma from Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu. So now Maitreya Rishi is going to start answering the questions that Vidura asked. Text 1. Maitreya Vacha Satsevaniyo Bhatapuru Vansho Yallo Kapalo Bhagavad Pradhana Babhuvite Hajita Kirti Malam Pade Pade Nutana Yasya Vikshnam Great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Because it's repeated many times, so it becomes fresher.
Swadu Swadu Pade Pade.
Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. Great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reference to his family glories. Uru dynasty was full of devotees to the personal Godhead and was therefore glorious. So he's glorifying Vidura who comes in the same lineage. And generally it's like that. If you have a good lineage, and if you are coming from a very exalted family, you have certain qualities. And in this case, Vidura comes from a devotee family. He has devotional qualities also. Okay. Anyway, Maitreya is very happy to discuss with Vidura because he has an opportunity to talk about the Lord. So whoever asks you about Krishna, they are glorious because they are making you remember Krishna. Not that you are so great. We have to think like that. Oh, this person, I have to do service. So he's making me do service for Krishna. So he's great, asking such. Text 2. Soham nirnam shulla sukhaya dukham
Soham nirnam shulla sukhaya dukham
mahadgatanam viramaya tasya
mahagatanam viramaya tasya
pravartaye bhagavatam puranam
pravartaye bhagavatam puranam
yadaha saksha bhagavan rishibhya.
yadaha sakshat bhagavan rishibhya.
Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavata Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. Basically,
I have a question here.
yeah.
Like, why is the Supreme Lord talking about his activities? I don't know how to put the question. Why is he basically talking about himself?
Who?
The Lord.
Why not? He's Supreme Lord. One thing he can do what he wants. The other thing is, he's not really talking about himself. Here, it's the devotees are talking about it.
Then here, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the person.
Yeah, because you have to know the situation, what the great sages asked him, right? So, first of all, you don't know what happened, but you're accusing him of something. If somebody come and ask you, what is your family, where are you from, tell me about you, wouldn't you answer? Yeah. So, similarly, Brahma also asked the Lord, what is this thing, who are you, and so on. So the Lord said, I am the Supreme Lord, I am the owner of everything, and so on. I existed before and nobody existed. Huh?
There's a story to do with the story of Force. They give a story on this. So there is one social worker was there. So he goes to all the rich people, usually pious people, and gets some money and do social work. So one weekend he comes to Seattle. So after going around Seattle, he remembers there is one rich person here, not Bill Gates, somebody else. He goes to that person's house to tell about a project.
Mm.
So, but our rich man has a habit. He has a hobby. So, whenever he gets a chance, he has a nice big garden. He does gardening. So,
Gardening.
Gardening.
Oh, okay.
So, when the person, social worker, comes to the garden, come to the house, and then he asks, he sees that there is one person working in the garden. He says, "Can you go and tell your owner that I had come to meet him?
Mm.
I'm so and so person. Can you go and tell the owner?" At the time, this person removes his cap and says, "I am the owner," he says.
Mm.
The person who goes nearby, neighbor walks by, he just hears this word, that I am the owner. At the time, he thinks that, "Why this guy is like boasting himself that I am the owner."
Oh, okay.
So because this person is in ignorance, to bring him to knowledge, he has to declare. Similarly, Krishna declares that I am the source of everything, I am everything, I am everything, to bring us to.
Even to know the conditioned souls, shower compassion or mercy on conditioned souls, Krishna tells about his opulence. No, that I understand, bro. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells himself that he is everything else. That I understand. But what I was not able to understand is why he is talking about Bhagavata Purana. Like why he is actually telling about all his prior activities. And I was under the impression before that the rishis who actually served the Lord, they just wrote everything for the benefit of everyone. The rishis and all the demigods and all those, like,
I agree with you that some of them, but in any case, Vedas, the knowledge, everything is given by the Lord first. The knowledge must come from one source before it makes sense. You know, otherwise, if you are going to research on your own, that knowledge will be tainted. It's not perfect knowledge. Perfect knowledge can only come from one source, from the perfect person. So the Lord gives that knowledge first to the sages, and then it's passed down from one sage to another, a disciple to disciple. Yeah. And along the way, it gets lost sometimes. So the Lord comes again and then re-establishes that knowledge again. Evam paramparam praptam, remember? So he says that, I come many times. So in the same way, this knowledge, Bhagavad Purana, was spoken by the Lord also many generations ago to different sages. Yeah. It's not something someone made up. No, it's the same knowledge, and originally the knowledge is coming from the original source.
It has to come from him.
Yeah, there's no other way. It has to come from him. If not him, then from his incarnation or something. But still, it's from him. So anyway, Prabhupada says the sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because it was especially compiled and traditionally comes down in the disciplic succession for the solution of all the problems of human society. That is the main reason why he wants to do that. And for most people, because most people are identifying with the body and they don't understand how to get out. But when they hear the information or the revelation from the Bhagavatam, then they understand their false attachment, their false beliefs, all those are taken away. And then they also understand why they are suffering also. Prabhupada says towards the end, he says, the gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continually life after life under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes in contact with the book Bhagavatam, means a person, as well as with the devotee Bhagavata, the book and the person, who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Sri Maitreya Muni, out of compassion for the suffering man in the world, proposes to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. Otherwise, he could go to the Vedas and all, but then the effect is not as strong as Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam can cut through very fast and deliver a person more effectively than if they were to pursue Vedic studies or something like that. So that is the reason why Maitreya decided to speak on Bhagavatam. Text 3. Asinamuriyam Bhagavantam Madhyam Sankarshanam Devam Akunta Sattvam Vivitsavastadvam Mata Prasparasya Kumara Mukya Munayo Anvaprichan. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truths regarding Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Shankarshana, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. In Pataloka.
Actually, this answers my question.
This is in clarification of the statement that Harivallabh is asking, that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained here. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumara and Lord Shankarshana, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them. Like I said, sometimes people approach, right? You have to answer.
So Sant Kumaras, the four Kumaras just became devotees by smelling the tulsi leaves. And then they go and hear Srimad Bhagavatam to get more
But
exposition.
many times they ask different lots, different questions. So this is one of them.
They also receive it from Lord Shiva also.
Yeah. Many, they go different places to get. They like to hear also, so they ask. Basically, that's what it is. Text 4. Swameva Disnyam Bahumanayantam
Swameva Dishyam Bahumanayantam
Yadvasudeva Vidamamananti
Yadvasudeva Vihamananti
Pratyagritaksham Bhuja Kosamisha
Pratyagrisashambhujakosamita
Unmilayantam Vibudodayaya.
Unmilayantam Vibudodayaya.
At that time, Lord Shankarshana was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva. But for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and began to speak. Text 5. Swadhuni Udhadrai Swajata Kalapai Upasprishantas Charanopadanam
Upasvishantasharanupadanam
Padmam Yadachanti Ahirajakanya
Padmam Yadachanti Ahirajakanya
Sapremanana Balivivarata.
Sapremanana Balivivarata.
The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the Serpent King when they desire good husbands. Basically, they came, the Ganges water is coming from the opening from the universe. Then it's coming down the higher planetary system all the way to the lowest planetary system. So Prabhupada explains, I believe, that sometimes these mystic yogis, they travel, but they use the Ganges to travel. So they go express, Zoom, they come to the yeah, it's like express. Yeah. So, but through the Ganges, they go through all the different places very quickly. Prabhupada writes, if a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another simply by dipping in its water. I heard one devotee, Prabhupada Tisaralsi, the Prabhupada told them that he pointed when they were at the Kumbh Mela or something, or in the Ganges, he said, these people are yogis. They are traveling from the upper regions of Himalaya. So I don't know how true it is, but it's a fact. You can read here.
Is it only in the one direction because the Ganges always falls from there to there or from down to up also?
No, they can go both ways. I believe they can go both ways. I mean, they have power, so it's not. So this is a great distance they go through. We don't understand how it's the technology we don't understand. Okay.
So the yogis have access to higher planetary systems.
Yeah.
And they not thinking about going back to Godhead? Or?
Not all of them.
Okay.
They can go up to even Svetadvip, but they cannot enter Svetadvip.
Sankarshana is different from the Shankarshana. This is so Sankarshana is used for the quadruple expansion also and for Anantashesha.
Yeah, it's expansion.
Or the same.
Expansion of Sankarshan also, there's Sankarshan also. So I'm not very sure whether this is that Sankarshan or is just an expansion of Sankarshan. Yeah. But he says he's meditating on Vasudeva, which could be that he's the expansion. Yeah.
Meditating on
Yeah. So it's
expansion
possible.
of
Yeah, Vasudeva. But then there is also two Vasudevas also within the second Chaturvyuha. Also, there's another
Yes.
Vasudeva. So No, from the second Chaturvya, there's a Vasudev. He expands, there's also another Vasudev also.
From the second.
Yeah, there is.
From Sankarshan. Okay.
There is. Third
So
one.
it is said there are multiple quadruple expansions.
Yes, that's why I'm saying it could be one of them, but we don't know which one. Many expansions from each of the Chaturvyas also. But we shouldn't get too confused because this Sankarshan is in the lower planetary system and he is the source of expansion for Seshan. How do you say?
Ananta
Ananta Seshan, yeah.
Yes.
Text 6. Oh, before that, Prabhupada says if generally people go to Ganga to take bath to clean the sin away. But then you keep committing sin, then how can you be saved? So Prabhupada says this is ridiculous, right? So the main thing is one who understands he needs to take up purification, shouldn't continue doing the foolish activities again. Otherwise, he is compared to an elephant. Okay.
Nectar of instruction.
Yeah, nectar of instruction also. Text 6. Muhu brunanto vachasanuraga skalapadenasya kritani tajna kirita sahasra mani pravek. No, Kirita Sahasra Mani Praveka. I can't get it. Pradyoti Dodama Panasahasram. Yeah, because the Sahasras should be long. The 4 Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Shankarshana, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head.
This is not Ananta Seshan.
This must be Anantasesha.
This is Ananta Seshan.
Yeah. He can be called Sankarshan also. Because he's an expansion of Sankarshan, so he's also Sankarshan. The Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. So sometimes you can call the Lord also Uttama Shloka. Okay, text 7. Proktam kilaita bhagavattamena nivriti dharma viratayatena Sanat Kumaraya Sachaha Prishtaha Sankhyayanayam Vedrita Vrataya Lord Shankarshana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumara, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumara also in his turn, when inquired by Sankhya Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Shankarshana. So again, Guru Parampara, system is like that. Text 8. Sankyayana Paramahangsya Mukhyo Vivakshamano Bhagavad Vibhuti Jagadasosmat Gurave Anvitaya Parasaraya Brihaspatescha. Great sage Sankhya was the chief amongst the transcendentalists, and when he was describing the glories of the Lord in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that my spiritual master, Parasara and Brihaspati, both heard him. So it's coming down in cyclic succession.
So My spiritual master, so Vyura's spiritual master is Parasara Muni?
No,
Oh, Maitreya spiritual master.
Maitreya speaking. Text 9. Vacham hayyam sadayalurukto
Vacham sayarukto
muni pulastyena purana madhyam
muni purastena puranamadyam
soham tavaitar katayami vatsa
soham tavaitat katayami vatsa
Shradalave nityam anuvrataya.
Shraddharavi nityamanugadaya.
Great sage Parasara, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Pulastya, spoke unto me the foremost of the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I shall also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you are always my faithful follower. There's a lot of affection between him and Vidura.
So there are multiple disciplic successions then. Parasara,
No, it's coming down, no?
Vidura. But Parasara is speaking even before his son has documented it.
Yeah, because this Bhagavatam is already available, right?
So when Narada chastises Vyasadeva,
No, because when he compiles, he's not glorifying the Lord. He just wrote the Purana, but he didn't write enough the Bhagavatam Purana. He didn't expand on the Bhagavatam.
even though his father knew it.
Even though he knew it himself, he didn't expand on
You
it.
know it is there in Vishnu Purana, everywhere it is there.
And then when he realized that he wasn't feeling well, then Narada Muni revealed that because he didn't glorify sufficiently the Lord. So therefore he rewrote the Bhagavad Purana. Okay. He just like summary first, Purana. Then later on when he realized he should actually, then he expanded the Purana properly. Yeah. So he actually finished everything, but he wasn't done properly. And before that, you have to understand all this always available. This knowledge is going on for, and it's coming through different parampara, this knowledge. Vedas are always there. Purana is always there.
Just not written down.
It depends on when it's compiled for like us, you know. It's still available, it's just that we it's still available. How many people are taking it, right? Like that. So same way, when it's available, not many people use it, then it gets lost. Correct or not? Just like if your whole village, they all, every day they make rasam, and then when they come to America, they stop making rasam. It doesn't mean the rasam is not available. It's just that you forgot. Other family members may be doing rasam in different cities. Like that. I hope that makes more sense to you.
Annamaya Kosha.
Huh?
Annamaya Kosha.
Annamaya Kosha.
I can only understand from the
Huh?
language.
What is the shift now?
Then they can understand. Anyway, there's a very nice story Prabhupada gives about Pulastya Muni. Now, Pulastya Muni is the father of all demoniac descendants. Okay. Once upon a time, Parasara began a sacrifice in which all the demons were to be burned to death because his father had been killed and devoured by one of them. He really got angry. The great sage Vashishta Muni arrived at the sacrifice and requested Parasara to stop the deadly action. Because of Vashishta's position and respect in the community of sages, Parasara could not deny the request. That means they have a very respectful, he asked, I'll stop. Parasara, having stopped the sacrifice, Pulastya, the father of the demons, appreciated his Brahminical temperament. See, even though Pulastya had terrible sons, he still was acting like a Brahmana. See that? Amazing. No?
But so another thing that I was thinking when I was reading this is those days the sages were so powerful, the Brahmins, they just, if they don't like somebody,
They can.
like they just sit one place and then do sacrifice with
Yeah, but they lose their tejas. So that's why they don't use it for. So, so Pulastya became very happy with Parasara and he gave him blessing that in the future he would be a great speaker on the Vedic literatures called the Puranas, the supplements of Veda. Parasara's action was appreciated by Pulasya because Parasara had forgiven the demons out of his Brahminical power of forgiveness. So Brahmana means you are supposed to forgive, not hold grudges.
Foremost point.
Most important, you should never hold grudges, no matter how bad the other person treats. Then you will find Krishna will take special interest in you. It's true. Parasara was able to demolish all the demons in the sacrifice, but he considered demons are so made that they devour living creatures, men and animals. But why on that account should I withdraw my Brahminical qualification of forgiveness? So he forgave them. As the great speaker of the Puranas, Parasara first of all spoke on the Srimad Bhagavad Purana because it is the foremost of all Puranas. Maitreya Muni desired to narrate the same Bhagavatam he had heard from Parasara. And Vidura was qualified to hear it because of his faithfulness and his following the instructions received from superiors. So Srimad Bhagavatam was being narrated from time immemorial by the disciplic succession, even before the time of Vyasadeva. Your question. The so-called historians calculate the Puranas to be only a few hundred years old, but factually Puranas existed from time immemorial before all historical calculations by the mundaners and speculative philosophers. You try to see, it existed for eons. But what do most historians say? Human civilization only started, 10,000, 5,000 years ago, like that.
So, but these sections of Maitreya Muni and Vidura's conversation and Naimisharan and all that gets added as we hear in disciplic succession.
Yeah. Because we are hearing through who? Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is in Naimisharan forest now.
So Prabhupada will also get added to Srimad Bhagavatam.
It's already added.
It's already
It's already added. No need to worry about that. He's already in the thing. And then when you speak to someone, you are added to it. It's true. As long as you don't change, you are added in the. Whether or not it's written in a book, who cares, right? Whether your name is printed. As long as you pass it, you are part of the disciplic succession. Generally, you don't say, this is what I know. You'll say, I've read in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes like that, where Maitreya Muni tells Vidura, this is the story, like that. You're never going to take the position that you are the source of all knowledge. No, it's true. We have to always think like that. It's coming from my Guru's mercy. I could understand because my Guru Maharaj give me the blessings. Not possible. It's everything is through disciplic succession. Even Maitreya Rishi is saying, disciplic succession. Text 10.
One time when Prabhupada was talking about 12 Mahajans.
What?
Prabhupada was talking about 12 Mahajans.
12 Mahajans.
And then one of Prabhupada's disciples said, Prabhupada, you are the 13th Mahajan. And then Prabhupada looked at him and said, you are the 14th.
Prabhupada saw something else. Like, you also preach.
He's also called the seventh Goswami in a different context.
Bhaktivinoda.
It's maybe eighth.
Or the 9th or 10th. He is a Goswami. It's no point. No, you don't have to say what number. Right?
Also, all this Vedic literature, including Bhagavatam, exists in the higher planet in a much more grander scale.
Yeah, because they have more time to read, more, our life is all short, so how much can we understand? As it is, we can't understand even this. We're trying to figure out, right? So many things.
If you find the remaining hymns of Brahma Samhita, will go crazy. Just with one, we are spending one
No,
night.
I don't think we are meant to see those things because I think Brahma sees past, present, and future. So he sings past, present, and future. So we are not qualified. Everyone will pretend they are the next avatar. The technology, they'll do all kinds of things. Okay, text 10. Udavrutam Vishwamidam Tadasit Nidrayami Nitadrinyami Layat Ahindratalpe Dishayana Ekaha Kritakshana Swatmarata Niriha. At that time when the three worlds were submerged in water, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu was alone, lying on his bedstead, the great snake, Ananta. And although he appeared to be in slumber in his own internal potency, free from the action of the external energy, his eyes were not completely closed. Text 11. Sonta sarire alpita bhuta sukshma kalatmikam shaktim udirayana Vasa tasmin salile padesve yata nalo daruniruddha virya. It's like the strength of fire within fuel wood. The Lord remained within the water of this solution, submerging all the living entities in their subtle bodies. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kala. In the Purport, Prabhupada explains, after the three worlds, upper, lower, and middle planetary system, merged into the water of dissolution, the living entities of all the three worlds remained in their subtle bodies by dint of the energy called Kala. Kala is the time energy. In this dissolution, the gross bodies become unmanifest, but the subtle bodies existed, just like the water of the material creation. Thus, the material energy was not completely wound up, as is the case in the full dissolution of the material world.
So at the end of day of Brahma.
Probably end of the day of Brahma. Text 12.
So one question, Lord. So the Kala is the glance of the Lord, Kala Kriya.
Yeah, that's
But here
Kala is also within the universe also.
also.
Text 12. Chaturyuganam cha sahasram apsu swapan swayodi ritaya swashaktya Kalakyaya sadita karma tantro lokana pita dadrishe swadehe. The Lord lay down for 4,000 yuga cycles in his internal potency, and by his external energy he appeared to be sleeping within the water. When the living entities were coming out for further development of their fruitive activities, actuated by the energy called Kala Shakti, he saw his transcendental body as bluish.
It's the night of a Brahma.
It's the night time.
In the Vishnu Purana, Kala Shakti is mentioned as avidya, the symptom of the influence of the Kala Shakti. Is that one has to work in the material world for fruitive results. The fruitive workers are described in Bhagavad Gita as muddas or foolish. Such foolish living entities are very enthusiastic to work for some temporary benefit within perpetual bondage. And then towards the end, Prabhupada says, due to this polluted mentality and due to material sins, the aggregate combination of living entities appeared to be bluish. Such an impetus of activity for fruitive results is made possible by the dictation of the external energy of the Lord, Kala. Anyway, the Lord's color is bluish. Okay, so don't think that
That our
our polluter mentality, material sins, and the aggregate combination may appear to be bluish. It may appear to be bluish, but the Lord, his color is also bluish.
So after
Otherwise, you may think he's bluish because
Because
of
our
our
sins.
sins. That's why I was thinking how to tell you all what. Just that his color is also bluish.
I was saying in that Avatar movie, they had all the residents of the planet as bluish.
Mm.
You can imagine.
Well, just like in the Vaikuntha planet, all the Sarupya, all the Rupa is bluish, and the Lakshmi is all golden, like that. Text 13. Tasyata sukshma vinivishta
तस्यार्थ सूक्ष्मा विविष्टदृशे
antagatorto rajasataniya
अन्तर्गतो रजसान्तनीयान्
nena kala nugatina vidya
तेन कालानुगतेन विद्धः
susyam stada vinyatanavidesha.
सुष्यास्तावेद्यनाविदेशा.
The subtle subject matter of creation on which the Lord's attention was fixed was agitated by the material mode of passion. And thus the subtle form of creation pierced through his abdomen. So the total karma of the living entity agitates and comes as a piercing through the navel. Text 14. Sapatmakosha sahasodatistat
सपरमकोशा सरसोदकिस्ता
kalena karma pratibodhanena
कालेन कर्मा प्रतिबोधनेन
swarochi sata salilam vishalam
स्वरोचिसर्वा सलिलं विशालम्
vidyotayannarkaivatmayoni
विद्योतयनर्कैवात्मयोनिः
piercing through this sum total form of the fruitive activity of the living entities. So fruitive activities is all the karma. Living entity took the shape of the bud of a lotus flower generated from the personality of Vishnu. And by his supreme will, it illuminated everything like the sun and dried up the vast waters of devastation. So the Lord is lying in the ocean. Still, when this thing comes out, it generates a lot of heat and light. So whatever is close by goes down, dries up. Not everything, but some. Text 15. Taloka padmam sa ueva Vishnu
लोकपद्मं सर्वेव विष्णु
Ravi Vishat Sarva Guna Babasam
सर्वगामनाशम्
Tasmin Swayam Vedamayo Vidata
तस्मिन् स्वयं वेदमयो विधाता
Swayam Bhuvam Yam Sma Vadanti Sobat.
स्वयं भुवं यं स्वदन्ति सोऽधु
Into that universal lotus flower, Lord Vishnu personally entered as the super soul. And when it was thus impregnated with all the modes of material nature, the personality of Vedic wisdom, whom we call the self-born, was generated. So, self-born is Brahma. So, now in the Prabhupada explains, this lotus flower is the universal Virat form, or the gigantic form of the Lord. In the material, it becomes amalgamated in the personal Godhead Vishnu in his abdomen at the time of dissolution. It's a blueprint that goes back into the Lord and then comes out again in the form of the lotus, where Brahma then understands how to continue with this creation and becomes manifest at the time of creation. This is due to Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, who enters into each of the universes. In this form is the sum total of all the fruitive activities of living entities conditioned by material nature. And the first of them, namely Brahma, or the control of the universe, is generated from this lotus flower. This firstborn living being, unlike all the others, has no material father, and thus he is called self-born or Swayambhu. He goes to sleep with Narayana at the time of devastation, and when there is another creation, He is born in this way. From this description, we have the conception of three: the gross Virat form, the subtle Hiranyagarbha, and the material creative force Brahma. Text 16.
So question, Swayambhu. So we also have Swayambhu Manu. So
First Manu is
this Manu
Swayambhu.
also is.
Swayambhu means usually talking about the first.
Oh,
Lotus is a Virat form, but I can't understand.
It contains everything that was before is now back into the Lord's body. And then when Brahma comes up, it comes with the lotus, the Virat. That means the blueprint.
He goes in the stem and he pushes.
Then later on, you'll see how when Brahma understands what to do, he goes into the lotus stem, and then he will generate the whole universe based on that. The whole thing will expand up and down. Yeah.
The lotus will expand.
Yeah, the whole lotus is subtle. Okay? Not gross, yeah. And then when we read that, you will understand how he does it. It is in the 10th, I think, 10th chapter. Right? 9th or 10th. Huh?
Divisions of the creation.
No, he when he expands the lotus, from the lotus, how he expands the universe. Anyway, let's not worry about it. So. Text 16. Tasyam sachambo rupukanikayam avastito lokam apasyamanah parikramam yomni vivrita netras Chatvari lebe nudisham mukani. Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the world. Okay. He therefore circumambulated all of the space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved 4 heads in terms of the 4 directions. He's a small universe, so he only got 4 heads. Bigger universe, I think, when they do, they will get million heads or whatever. It's inconceivable actually. Text 17. Tasma yuganta swasanava gudna Jalormi chakra salila virudam Upasrita kanjam uloka tattvam Natmana madda vidadadi devaha. A Brahma situated in that lotus could not perfectly understand the creation, the lotus, or himself. At the end of the millennium, the air of devastation began to move the water and the lotus in great circular waves. So, when you wake up, sometimes you wake up, you don't know what's happening also, right? Correct or not? It takes some time to realize, oh, okay, yeah. So, but this is, for Brahma, is the whole thing is like, everything is like, nothing around, So he's totally like perplexed.
So whenever he wakes up,
Yeah, after that there is some kind of devastation. So here is a complete devastation. So he again has to create. So he was perplexed. So he tried to understand, Prabhupada says, to understand them for 1 millennium, which is beyond the calculation solar years of human beings. So for a long time, put it that way. No one therefore can know the mystery of the creation and the cosmic manifestation simply by mental speculation. So we can't, Prabhupada's point is, we cannot really understand how these things takes place. But we try to simply accept it and accept, okay, this is how it happens. We may get some understanding. It's true, right? Even though no matter how much research is done with all these charts, still we don't know many things. Text 18. Ta esha yosa ahamabja pristha eta kuto babjamananya dapsu
Etat kuto vabjamananyapsu
asti yadastat iha kincanaitad
asiyadasta ihakunchanadan
adisthitam yatra satanubhavyam.
avishtitam yatra sadanubhavyam.
Brahma, in his ignorance, contemplated, who am I that I am situated on the top of this lotus? Wherefrom, as it sprouted, there must be something downwards, and that from which this lotus is grown must be within the flower. So very similar like in the Brahma Samhita. Huh?
Is it flower? Is it?
Lotus, no? There must be something downwards, and from which this lotus is grown must be within the water.
I read flower.
Oh, you must be thinking of Krishna. I may have said it, I don't know. Anyway, he's trying to figure out how he came into existence. I mean, for normal people, you go crazy, you know, when you are alone and you're in a dark room, and then you are in a pedestal, and then right,
Water
everything's moving.
And then Brahma is doing that for a millennium.
Yeah,
The water is so.
he's going,
Up and
searching
down,
up and down for a millennium. That's why Prabhupada said, don't think about it.
Lotus is moving around.
Yeah, because of the waves, the lotus is
And
moving.
nothing to hold.
Yeah. Text 19. Sayitamudvikshya tarabjanala
Sayitamudvikshya
Nadi viranta jalamavivesha
Nadiranta jalamavivesha
Narvagatastat karanala nala
Navakratasta karanala
Nabin vichinvam staravinda taja
Navin vichinvam stadavindaraja
Brahma, thus contemplating, entered the water through the channel of the stem of the lotus. So he went inside. Huh? But in spite of entering the stem and going nearer to the navel of Vishnu, he could not trace out the root. So Prabhupada says immediately, very nicely, by dint of one's personal endeavor, one may go nearer to the Lord. But without the Lord's mercy, one cannot reach the ultimate point. Such understanding of the Lord is possible only by devotion service. Bhaktya mam abjanati yavam yaschasmi tadvita. So you can go to the temple, but you cannot. Why are you laughing? It's a fact, right? We can go to the temple, but we really
You can't see.
you can't. You see God, but God don't see you, or you don't see God, right? That's it. Huh? Anyway, there's no class tomorrow, right? So let me just do a few more verses. Tomorrow is Gita Jayanti. Prabhu wants everyone to go.
10 o'clock.
Okay. Tamasya pare viduratma sargam
Tamasya viduratma sargam
vichevato bhu sumaham strinemi
Vichivato samastrini
yodeha vajam vayamirayanah
Yogeha vajam vairiyana
parikshinotyayurajasya heti.
Parikshinotyaya jasasya hiti
O Vidura, while searching in that way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of the living entity like the fear of death. Text 21. Tato nivritto pratilabdha kamaha
Tato nivritto pratilabdhanamaha
Swadishnyam asadya punasadevaha
Swadishyam asadya punasadeva
Chanejita swasa nivrita chito
Shanejita swasa nivrita chito
Nyasidararudha Samadhi Yoga. Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord.
So the concentrating on the Supreme Lord is because from his previous life, he knows who is the ultimate.
See, like I was saying the other day, we don't know exactly the sequence Maitreya is explaining, right? It could be just like in Brahma Samhita, we hear how he had tapa and then he decided to meditate. So it is possible that that section is not discussed at this point, but maybe later on Maitreya will repeat and say, actually, this is what happened. He further explains those things. Okay. So, yeah, but you see, there's a description that's going on of two Brahmas. So one Brahma does it differently, another Brahma does it differently. So we have to figure out.
This is going inside the steps.
Yeah.
The
first one, which is from like the second canto. Now let me find out and then I can tell you. I think we'll stop here, no? Huh?
One more, right?
It's only what, 7 or 8 verses.
Yeah, 9, 30,
33.
Or we can do it. He has to go, right?
You can continue.
No, we don't stop. No, we stop here. We'll stop here and then we can continue on Friday. Alright. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.